Hi, I'm Brett Jennings, and for the last 12 years, I've traveled the country to meet, mentor, and mastermind with some of the brightest and best minds both inside and outside of real estate. I've taken those ideas, brought them back to our team of experts, and sold hundreds of homes per year all across Silicon Valley, and this is how we do it. So thanks for everyone for taking the time to come learn a little bit about what we can do to shore up our businesses and really make the most of this shifting market. I wanted to share this time because I think, in times like this where there's a lot of uncertainty, not only amongst our real estate community, but specifically with our clients, there's a real opportunity. There's a choice that we can make, right? We can engage more deeply and really become the true professional in the space and really add a lot of value and provide clarity in what we're doing. Or we can kind of put our head in the sand and pull back and furlough. Like many people, I'm saying one of the things that you definitely don't want to do right now is furlough yourself. That's about the worst thing you can do. But I wanted to share, because I've spent a lot of time on some Zoom meetings, both with the Zillow Agent Advisory Board, which I'm a part of. So I've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of top real estate brokers and team leaders all across the country to gain perspectives on, what are they doing, what are they saying, and how are they showing up to really be the leader, be the expert, be that trusted authority in their marketplace. And I do think that this presents an opportunity for all of us, because the core message I think you want to come away with today is that how we experience this market change, this market shift, is a choice. And I'm going to shift off of my yoga ball here to a chair, because otherwise I'll be rolling and bouncing around. How we experience this is a choice. And the main thing is although the world is in crisis, your business doesn't have to be. And that for me was I started my business in 2008, literally the week before Bear Stearns collapsed. And I'll share a little bit about my story in case any of you don't know me personally. But the thing about the crisis, the interesting thing about crisis, if we look at that, I put the Japanese kanji over here. What's interesting about the Asian culture is the word for crisis is made up of two characters. One's danger and one's opportunity. And on the one side, what could perceived to be danger is that we've got low inventory. Our stock market's down 20 to 30% currently right now, tons of economic uncertainty, and we will need to work harder. The opportunity here is many agents have been sidelined. Either they're taking this as an opportunity to just take a vacation, or they're experiencing uncertainty and just kind of don't know what they should be doing. Maybe feeling a little awkward about okay, is it appropriate to reach out to my clients, past clients right now and have conversations about real estate? And so a part of what we're going to cover today is how to do that appropriately and elegantly. For the people who need help, they get the help. And for those that don't, we're showing up in an appropriate way. And the other side of the opportunity here is obviously interest rates are super low. We will have more motivated sellers. And the last point is that you can gain market share. During the last correction in recession that we had in 2008, 41% of agents left the business between 2008 and 2011. So this is a huge opportunity to gain market share. And I don't know if you noticed or saw, but what we saw was in Inman News here, I think it was Monday, Redfin announced that they are furloughing 41% of their agents. So I think that's awesome. It just means, there's more opportunity for all of us. But for any of you who don't know me personally, I'll just a quick, real brief introduction. I grew up here in Silicon Valley, started my first business in college, went to work for Tony Robbins coming out of there, started a business, grew it for a few years, sold it in 2006, made some good money, and then lost it all on some of the investments I'd made. My wife was pregnant with our first, and that's the picture you see here. Literally, this was probably like a couple weeks before I got my real estate license. And she was like, all right, Brett, what are you going to do? And so I said, real estate, because a lot of my best clients in financial services had made their money in real estate. So that became my focus, and failure wasn't an option. So I turned back to kind of my mentor, Tony Robbins, and asked him, hey, what should I do? How should I pursue my path? And his thing is his core thing people think is positive psychology, but it's really about this concept of modeling. Find somebody who's achieved the result that you want, model what they think in their mindset, and take the actions that they do, and you'll get the same results. So I did, and I doggedly pursued those people who kind of were at the top of their game for the next 10 years, probably spent $150,000 on different coaching and training over a 10-year period, and had the opportunity to meet with some of the best. Gary Keller, became good, I got a good relationship with Spencer, the former CEO of Zillow, and some other top people in the industry. And guess what? It worked. But by the time my third year into building a team, we hit $1 million in GCI. We had a goal to hit the Wall Street Journal list. We hit that in 2013 and have consistently done that, and then had the opportunity to join the Zillow Advisory Board in 2018. Now, I don't share the results here to impress you, but really to impress upon you what the opportunity is to really take a proactive position in an approach with your business and coming out of a shift, because these were the milestones that happened for me during this period of time between 2008 and 2012. And literally, like I said, I started my business the week that Bear Stearns collapsed is when I got my license and started. And so there's tremendous potential to gain momentum coming out of a shift. And I feel like that's where where I'm kind of I got a unique perspective and some unique experience to be able to share. So moving on. So our goal for today is, if you're feeling any uncertainty about what's going on with the market, to help create confidence where there was uncertainty, create clarity about kind of how you can take a proactive approach towards your business, and decision where there was once indecision. The agenda for today, I've got 3 main things to cover. One is an update and forecast. Where is the market likely headed and what can we expect? Specifically, how deep might this correction or recession go? How long will it last, and how long will it take to recover? Second thing I want to focus on is a survival guide, specifically how to prepare yourself in your business to quote what I say, be around for the rebound, because there will be a rebound for this, and we'll talk about that. And then the last thing is a 30-day action plan during shelter in place. If Newsom decides that, hey, it looks like mid-May is going to be when we kind of reopen the economy, it sounds like it's not going to be, hey, everyone is welcome back on the playing field at our previous pace. It looks like it will be measured a little bit, but given the fact that we got 30 days and we're all kind of still at home, what are the actions that we can take? So let's dive right in to the market update. So with the market update, the market absolutely has shifted, right? Since shelter in place came in, we've been tracking stats week over week. So looking at month over month numbers. So March 5th through the 12th through April 5th through the 12th, the number of new listings has dropped 59%. Interestingly, the number of pending sales has also dropped 59%. Those numbers didn't have exact parity like that before, but this week, it looks like 59% of the buyers have left the playing field and 59% of the sellers have left the playing field. And because of that, mostly because of the slowdown in the market, and we don't have the velocity that we had with multiple offers as frequently. There are still homes selling with multiple offers. We are seeing sales prices trending down a little bit. I shared this content on another webinar earlier this week with about 100 guests. We did a poll, and actually, let me see, can I do that here? Do I have other options? Huh. Oh, I can't do it right in there, but I can do it from my Zoom polling. So I'm going to ask a quick question. Want to maybe actually Lauren? I don't know, Lauren. Do you have the capability to ask a question? Because I want to stay focused on the presentation. See if you can use the polling function in Zoom here and ask if you had a listing that has come to market after shelter in place. What kind of results are you seeing Are you seeing offers coming in at, above, or below the seller's price expectation? When I asked this question earlier the week for about 100 Bay Area agents, the 70% said offers were starting to come in below the seller's expectation. So we'll start to see prices trending down. And because of that, obviously days on market are increasing. We have right now the opportunity to put stuff on the market without MLS days on market accumulating, but they are still, if those properties show up on Zillow or Redfin, you will still see days on market showing up for those ones. So given that, where are prices right now? This is looking at San Jose prices. Whoa, what happened there? This is looking at San Jose and what's happening with prices. We had a nice run up with the median price in San Jose jumped almost 10% in the months of January and February. And then going into March, we obviously were off to a great start and things are already pulling back. So that's where we are. The question is, what's the forecast and where are we going? The questions we want to answer are, one, how deep will it go? How long will it last? And how long will it take for us to recover? I'm going to go deep on the data here, so please bear with me. I think there's a lot of information here. It should be relatively easy to understand still, but I want to provide it to you because I think it's important. It sets a context for where things may be going. So let's take a look. When we put this into perspective, this is what we call the real estate funnel. Starting with online traffic, then how it converts to leads. A good number of those leads turn into new listings and then ultimately transactions. Now, some of you online might be saying, yeah, you know what, I don't buy leads, so this doesn't really apply to me. I beg to differ, because the way we're looking at this is that I guarantee you, even if you're not buying leads and you're working mostly sphere of influence, those people are going on websites like Zillow or Redfin to get information about property. So this is a big picture look at what Joe and Jane Consumer are doing with respect to real estate. When we look at traffic, specifically, what's going on with traffic, because this is a leading indicator what's likely to happen down the line. This is looking at online traffic across all the major portals around the world since coronavirus came into play. So the main one here, obviously, is Zillow is the big one here in the US, and traffic is down about 30%. This is a website, Zoopla. They're the UK in England. That's the UK's version of Zillow. And the graph on the left shows what's happening. The yellow lines, or yellow or orangish lines, those show traffic on their websites. And you can see starting in March before coronavirus broke out, they were there. And the dotted line is a 7-day average. Their traffic dropped down almost 35%. And then once people got into the mode of shelter in place, just like we all did after a week of, hey, figuring out what homeschooling's like and kind of getting it back into your routine and figuring out they have some time on their hands, now those people are searching again. And so you see that dotted line come up. And so it's settling down just like where we are at about 30% less traffic. The purple line is actually demand. When I say demand, people look at properties online, but then they want to click on them to go for a showing or ask questions. So the demand, or the number of leads and inquiries on properties, has continued to drop off there. So the net effect for us is about a 30% drop in traffic on all the websites. Then we look at kind of what's happening with leads. On the lead front, Zillow is showing on the national level about a 30% drop. We spend quite a bit of money across a lot of different zip codes all around the county on Zillow, and we've seen a 37% drop in traffic. And so that's again, it's a demand, an indicator, leading indicator of the demand for real estate. But then that also begs the question, in this environment, what is a lead, right? Like if somebody can't go see a house or buy a house, what does that really represent? And is now the right time for these people? But nonetheless, a number of leads do end up turning into new listings. So we want to take a look and see what's happening with listings. we're going to look at a couple other markets and then focus in on ours. I want to give a comparison just of a couple other major metro areas that have experienced coronavirus a little bit ahead of us. And for example, King County, Washington was one of the first hotspots. That's up near Seattle. They're seeing their listing volume is down about 55% year over year. This shows basically 2019 to 2020, the month of March. This is every day how many listings are coming on, but you can see it's way down. It's down about 55%. The next one here is New York City. Obviously, New York City was hit super hard by coronavirus, as we saw in the news. Their new listing volume is down about 75%. So other areas have seen about a 50 to 75% decrease in their number of listings. We've seen a 59% decrease here. So what does that mean to you or I as agents, really, right? Well, what that means is there's 59% fewer transactions happening. We can only sell a house if it comes to the market. I mean, granted, we do have off-market properties and off-market opportunities, but for the most part, to sell a house and make a commission and get a paycheck, those things got to come to market. So as we look at transactions to try to get a forward look as to what the recovery of this might look like as we come out of it, a couple things to consider is what's going on in other countries that are further along in the coronavirus kind of wave than us. And so this is looking at China and their real estate market over the last 4 years. The big V you see in the middle, that is their Lunar New Year, which is kind of like our Christmas and New Year's holiday, right? Their whole country kind of winds down and shuts down. And then after their Lunar New Year, boom, everybody gets back to work and their real estate market takes off. The arrows, the dark blue arrows that you see there is what's happened since coronavirus. And their market is coming back. But if you look at the pace at which it's coming back, it's coming back about half the speed as it normally would after their Lunar New Year. So the velocity of their market's been cut in about half. This is looking at Dubai. Dubai has seen their transaction volume drop about 70% after coronavirus. And then this is data from Remax for Italy. And Italy seeing their volume again. They were hit super hard. Their transactions volumes down about 75%. So I think the conclusion we can make as far as like where we are and how it might impact like our ability to generate commissions and get buyers and sellers engaged is we're probably going to see about a 50% drop in the number of sales from now. And as we come out of it, that's kind of what the bottom of our recovery will look like. How long will it last and how long to recover? The best data that we have on this actually comes from Zillow. This is a study Zillow did when they were looking at, okay, where in the world have we had like an epidemic that has like, bam, decimated the real estate market. And Hong Kong with SARS, if you guys remember SARS, it was way back in 2003, it was when the SARS outbreak hit. They were hit like really hard. It was an epidemic like we have here with coronavirus, and it shut their economy down. And it took them between 6 and 8 months to, the dark blue line is their velocity of transactions. And it took them about 6 to 8 months to get back to full speed. So on the short side, as I was talking with another colleague and I about like, okay, like what's best case scenario? I think if we look at what happens between Christmas and New Year's, the number of transactions that happen in our market around Christmas and New Year's drops to about half of what it is in spring or summer. Right now, the number of transactions has been cut down 60%, so we're a little bit less than half. And at Christmas and New Year's, you know, after that first weekend in January, it's kind of open season for real estate again. Buyers and sellers start putting their homes on the market. Buyers start, you know, coming out and engaging again. And it takes us about 3 months really, right, to ramp up full velocity of our real estate market after Christmas and New Year's. So I think a best case scenario would be 3 months, but we have to also consider what's the mindset. It's not, this isn't just like Christmas or New Year's though, right? There's some additional factors that are going to be going on in the minds of our buyers and sellers. It could be wage insecurity or job insecurity, and economic uncertainty that's going to give those people a little bit of pause. And we'll talk later in this Zoom about what kind of things we can say and what we can share to restore that confidence. But it's not going to be like just right after Christmas or New Year's. So I think worst case scenario, we're 6 to 8 months to recover, assuming the broader economy, gets its legs back under it and things start to return somewhat to normal. And on the fastest side, it would be 3 months from the time we say go. So I hope that gives some clarity to that. Does anybody have any questions on what we've covered so far? And if you do, you can either chat them in the chat box or come off of mute. And are you guys hearing me? I want to make sure that okay. I mean, is what I'm saying making sense? Okay, cool. Got it. So in summary, what's interesting about where we sit today is it's kind of like halftime. Like all the players are off the field. The buyers are off the field. The sellers are off the field. And us as agents are off the field, so to speak. But there's still some activity happening. So that's the interesting thing. The halftime here has given us a pause to kind of look at, our business. For us, we've had the opportunity to take more time and go deep on learning. Obviously, all of us are having to learn new stuff like how to use Zoom more effectively. We've pivoted to take this time to look at all of our systems and kind of clean things up a bit. But the other thing about this is that it's 50% time. So it's halftime in one sense, and it's 50% time, and that there's going to be 50% of the paychecks going around until we recover. So that being the case, I want to shift into the second segment of this presentation or talk that I'm giving here. And we've talked about the market forecast. The next thing is the survival guide. So the question will be, what's the first thing that we want and most important thing? Number one is to be around for the rebound. There will be a rebound from this. And the first and most important thing is to survive. The second step in it, well, there is no step two. In markets like this, when things shift, survival is everything. So it does require, an attitude that we really take it seriously. I think this is, as I mentioned at the top of the call, shifts will have an effect to shake people out of the business. Those people who aren't committed, we're going to find out, like, for who is real estate just a job, and for whom others is real estate like a sport. And that, I think, will be the differentiator. But when we talk about the survival guide, number one thing is mindset. Really having the right attitude and what to be kind of thinking about as we look at this. I think your habits, our habits, will have a major impact in how we do over specifically the next 30 days, and then coming out of this, because this is just a quote from Tony Robbins: your habits and routines are the drivers of your success, and that your morning ritual is the most important ritual of the day, as it sets your energy and tone for the rest of the day. I don't know about you, but like in the first wave, first part of this shelter in place, like my mojo was off. I was out of my routine. Fortunately, like taking this advice, I worked with my wife and family, and we really had to lay down a calendar. We got to post it in our kitchen. It's like, this is the daily agenda, just to restore some sense of normalcy back to life as we know it. One thing I do want to share, this is something that we've shared with our team and group for when people come into our environment. And that's this book called Miracle Morning. Tom Ferry also talks about take your meds. You want to inoculate yourself against both this experience we're having with coronavirus. but also your business, to make your business and your life and yourself more durable, specifically your mindset, is meditation. So try to get 20 minutes in twice a day, once a day at least if you can. Obviously exercise, diet, eating whole fresh foods, and sleep, getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. There's something specific about 7 hours that the research shows that there is your brain kind of, there's a whole cascade of what do they call those, like hormones in your brain that endorphins
Yep.
that kind of wash your brain, and it's critical to get that 7 hour threshold. So if you haven't checked out this book, I highly recommend it. It's a game changer. Just getting an awesome morning routine to get your mindset fortified, because it's going to be a bit harder. And this is from one of my other mentors, about Gary Keller, about what you really should, where your head should be at with respect to market shifts. He says, this is an opportunity. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. You watch. If you get way out in front of this with tons of energy, on the backside of it, you'll see new heights that you weren't sure just how you get to. And shifts make this possible. It just hurts in the interim because you have to work harder to get the same results. And that's true here. So in this survival guide, I want to kind of talk through and run through Gary's strategies to thrive through the shift, because they were applicable in 2008 and they're still applicable now. These are the 5 points. We want to get your finances in order, and we're going to go deep into each one of these. Double your lead generation efforts, triple your focus on lead conversion, increase your training efforts. And obviously you guys are doing that just by being here today. So thanks for making the time and taking the time. And then number 5 is be very visible and over communicate. And that's super essential, specifically right now. So on the first one, getting your finances in order, know what your real expenses are. My wife does the books for our business. And so we did this exercise. It's called muscle, bone, and fat. So go through your credit card statement, and we use 3 different color highlighters and looked at, all right, what's bone? What I mean by bone is like what's 100% absolutely critical to your business. And this might be your MLS dues, for example. Or if you have a CRM, like no matter what you're talking to your people, you're going to need that. What are those tools that are mission critical just to stay alive? The second one would be what's muscle. Muscle provides forward movement, also helps you with growth. So what are those things that, you don't have to have, but you like to have, and for growth that you need them. And then lastly, what's fat? And then maybe this is a marketing campaign, some direct mail stuff that you've been doing that maybe hasn't fully panned out just yet. What are those things that you might be able to cut right now to limit your expenses on that? Other thing you want to do is know the ROI in your marketing. And I'm going to go deeper into that in just a second. Have a budget, and both for your business and personal. If you don't know what your business budget is, like take the time to figure it out. Just look at the last 6 months, what you've spent in your business to keep things going and growing, and know what those numbers are, because the 4th step here is to create a goal to have 3 months of core capital for your business. You should have 6 months of core capital and personal savings, like cash on hand for 6 months of living expenses, because that will always, it's great for your mindset, for both to know what your expenses are and that you have the reserves both in your business and in your life. Specifically in your business, it will help you make better decisions. And I remember personally when I was growing my business and I didn't have this concept yet in place, I'd start something like farming, and if it wasn't working, I was always questioning, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? Because I didn't have the financial certainty to know that I could take this calculated risk and make this investment. And then lastly, what unnecessary, from that muscle, bone, and fat exercise, what unnecessary expenses can you cut? We looked at, we lease an office space. So we went to our landlord and we looked to renegotiate that. Obviously you've heard in the news about the business owner loan programs for PPIL, Paycheck Protection, as well as economic disaster recovery. It sounds like funds are going to run short on those things. So if you haven't applied, you probably want to get get your applications in pretty quickly for that stuff. Any thoughts or questions on what we covered so far on finances? Okay. This
Hey,
the
Brett,
second.
quick question.
Yes.
It's not on finances, but what are you using right now, or what are you suggesting to agents as far as staying in touch with their clients? Because I know we want to be sensitive.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you do?
I'll get specifically into that because it does. I can tell you, it doesn't take money right now. It doesn't take money. It's going to take effort, and it's going to take visibility to broadcast your, what you're up to, and what's going on, and do it in a tasteful way. And we'll get right into that on the action plan.
Thank you.
But with respect to the 5 strategies here, the first was get your finances in order. The second is double down on your lead generation. So it's going to take, we know there's 50% fewer transactions floating around. So we have to double down on the number of people that we're going to talk to. And if you're doing any marketing, you're going to want to focus on the top sources. So the exercise for that is to list all your closings for the last 24 months, identify, what the sales prices and source are. What was your cost per client based on what you've spent or invested there? And then find your best 2 or 3 sources and double down on those. Clearly, sphere of influence is always going to be one of the highest and best ROI sources, and followed by maybe open house. Obviously, open houses are kind of out of the picture for now, and maybe for the intermediate future. So what other types of things are working well for you? Zillow has been something that we've been able to leverage and work well, and we've been consistently able to scale with them. And then farming is another, obviously, opportunity. Those are our top 4. But looking at the other piece of where you should be focusing your lead generation efforts, in a shift like this, you want to double down on the most motivated buyers and sellers. I'm going to tell you how to find them in your sphere of influence and do that in a tasteful way. But for those that are outside your sphere of influence, these are the 4 Ds that are often the most motivated sellers. So notice of defaults, you got to know there's going to be some of those popping up. I was looking at the data from Silicon Valley Index, and they estimated that 27% of Bay Area workers are deemed in that kind of non-essential segments of retail, hospitality, transportation, warehousing, other services, restaurants. It's a huge number. It's like 800,000 jobs. And a lot of those people have been laid off. Now, granted, there's a moratorium on foreclosures, but we're going to see more of that activity coming. So if you want to check out notice of defaults, propertyradar.com is a good resource to use to find those. Divorce. This is a funny one, right? Because this shelter in place, it's either going to cause a baby boom or a divorce boom from how much time people are spending with their significant others. So I think we're going to see both of those coming out of this. Number 3 is downsize. This was already a huge opportunity for our market. Mercury News, about a month and a half ago, did a cover page story on, Fed Up, I think was the title of it. It was what percentage of people in the Bay Area who've lived here for a while were considering moving. And it was high as like 30 or 35%. So you got to know that coronavirus is going to precipitate or nudge some of these people along who've been thinking about selling. Like this event is going to be one of those things that this event of the shelter in place and coronavirus is going to be one of these things that's going to create or move people's plans along. Yes, there are going to be people who put their plans on hold, but there's going to be a subset of people, the most motivated, that they are going to want to move forward. And then obviously death, inheritance, probate. So if you know probate attorneys, that could be a good opportunity to pursue.
Hey, Brett, we've got a question in
Sure.
the chat right now. So what kind of metrics are we seeing on Zillow leads and our conversion rate? Do you have some insight to add to that?
Yeah. So we convert between 6 and 8% of the Zillow leads that come through. They are going to be changing their model to something called Flex, which is going to be a referral fee model for their most active partners in the marketplace. With those, I think their intention is to drive more of the live connections, more of the phone calls to those partners. If you have more questions on Zillow specifically and how to optimize to really make Zillow work for you, I'd be happy to do a one-off call with you. At the end of this, I'll offer you kind of an opportunity to have a one-off conversation where we can drill down deep if Zillow is something that you're doing and something that you're focused on.
Yeah, and I would probably add to that we are still seeing some Zillow volume during the shelter-in-place period in time. We don't quite have enough data yet to kind of aggregate what the conversion rate is. We'll probably be able to do that in the next couple of weeks and see what the kind of the numbers are. But
yeah, I think we need
people who are calling in are highly motivated. So if you are a partner with Zillow right now, we're still getting leads. We're still putting people into contract. So it's just a little bit less. It's definitely less volume.
Way less. Yeah, it's 40% less volume, and I think we're probably going to see 50 or 60% fewer transactions happening.
Yeah, but I believe that they're going to convert much higher because the people who are trying to look at property right now, they're in that position out of because they have to be. They're not looky-loos shopping around.
Yeah, for sure.
And one more question on the probate sales. With the exception of probate attorneys, what are the sources that you would recommend for looking for probate sales?
Probate specifically, there's a company called All the Leads. If you Google that name, All the Leads, they sell probate, like qualified probate opportunities where they get the administrator's phone numbers and things that come along with it. So that could be one opportunity. If you use Property Radar, you can look at, I believe you can search for death of joint tenant. So, oftentimes if somebody is married on a property and they're in a trust, when one of the parties passes away, oftentimes they'll file a notice with the county called death of joint tenant. So that's one thing that you can also search for, and yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Sure. So we've talked about first thing was like get your finances in order in a shift. Second thing was to double down on your lead generation efforts. And first part of that was focus on the things that are working. And then second is the most motivated. Third thing is triple your efforts on lead conversion. What I mean by that is, here's the deal. This has scared the crap out of a lot of people. And so they're going to be a little hesitant to act. So we're going to have to spend, one, we're going to need to talk to more people. And number two, we're going to need to talk to more people more frequently with better messaging so that we can help them overcome their fear to move forward. So it's going to be an equation of one, making more contacts, but specifically time blocking your prospecting and follow-up. What's been awesome for the shelter in place for us is all of us as agents, have sometimes a challenge with just sitting down and picking up the phone and like making our calls, whether it's follow-ups or otherwise. But this opportunity for us, we've leveraged as a group, and we've opened up what we call Power Hour, and we're inviting other people in to just come in and actually we're not listening because they come on Zoom and everybody's on mute, but we're in a format like this where we can see our colleagues and comrades, doing their morning Power Hour, and it's rewarding. So, but the key point there is time block your prospecting and follow up, and then again focused on your most motivated buyers and sellers. I'm going to talk specifically on how to identify those guys or gals in a minute. Lastly, the fourth step in this 5-point prescriptive formula for a shift is increase your training efforts. You're doing that here by jumping on Zoom. You're going to continue to see probably a lot of great content coming from different sources, but our commitment is to consistently step up and deliver. So I put it out there. We're doing at least one, probably two, and sometimes three trainings a week on different things that people can leverage or take advantage of or sharpen their saw, improve their skills on in this time. Like we just did one yesterday on hosting virtual open houses. What's involved in that? I could tell you like I way prefer doing a regular open house than a virtual open house, just in the amount of preparation and things that need to go into doing a virtual open. But hey, until things are back to normal, we need to do that. But the other thing that you're going to want to do is master these virtual buyer and seller presentations. I was super stoked to hear, we just got off a huddle from all of our partners before this call, and almost every single one of 18 people on there, everyone but one had at least 3 client meetings this week, because we've been focused on really getting used to using Zoom as a tool, and specifically how to provide market data to these people to let them know, hey, you may be thinking all is lost, but we're here to keep your dream alive, and let's talk about what likely might happen with the market so you can adjust your goals accordingly. And then role play. We're going to need to master scripts that will get people motivated. The 5th part in this 5-point plan is to be very visible and over communicate. In times of crisis, good leaders communicate, and they communicate, and they communicate. And if you didn't notice, you're probably getting the alerts on your phone about coronavirus, but like good leaders, Gavin Newsom, politics aside, right? The guy's done a great job, got us sheltering in place early, but he's giving regular and consistent updates. And so you as a leader in your own, amidst your own sphere of influence and real estate community and farm, you want to be doing the same. You want to be visible, and you want to over communicate about what's going on. With sellers specifically, we are going to see with the contraction that's happening, pricing it right. You're going to see this slack, the gap between list price and sale price is going to probably close quite a bit, right? People are going to be pricing stuff more closer to the market because we're not in this environment where we're getting 20 offers and a huge price pop. So focusing on pricing it right is going to be important, and then getting price reductions if things aren't selling. To get good price reductions, I put these 4 points on here because this was critical for us. Number one, just have a regular scheduled time that you're going to connect with your sellers for updates, because in the markets of past that everything sold so quickly, you didn't really have to have a set time that you were going to connect with all your sellers every week. But I've been through a shift before, and when you have 6 or 7 listings and only one of them is sold in a week, those other 5 people are going to want to know, hey, what the heck's going on? The other thing you want to do is set your sellers up on a buyer search. So use Real Scout or whatever your selected or chosen tool is to set your sellers up on a buyer search so they can see the new listings coming to market. The reason I say that is it's one thing to give a seller an update on Tuesdays and go through, hey, here's the new listings that came to market. But it's completely different if 2 or 3 times during the week they got an email from you about a new listing that came, and they can see what that property is, and they're poking around and looking at it. So when you do that Tuesday seller update and you're like, hey, we have 4 new listings that came to market, the one on Main Street is pretty similar to ours, and they're listed $100,000 less, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw that, as opposed to you having to explain all that to them. Same thing with new solds, just in case there's new comps that set prices. And then lastly, master price reduction dialogues. If you guys stay tuned in to us and our Thrive Through the Shift Real Estate Experts Facebook page, we'll be delivering that content with scripting and messaging. So be sure to stay tuned in there. Other thing with buyers, and this be very visible, it's really about educating them on the market. One thing that is super important that will change. One thing that is super important. I gotta shut this door here. That will change is I've been talking to some agents that hadn't been through a shift before, and I was like, how many houses have you sold since you've been in your career? And they've been in 3 years, and they sold 12 or 15 houses. And I said, you know what, you really haven't sold real estate. And they go, what do you mean? No, I've sold houses. I go, no, you haven't had to sell a house. The momentum of the market was there. You just kind of put yourself in the way, opened some doors, wrote some contracts, but you haven't had to sell. And so in order to really be effective when it comes to this level is we really have to elevate ourselves as consultants, advisors, and experts to help people. But it's not just data. So going deep with your buyers in your initial consultation and finding out why. What are the lifestyle reasons? What it's important or essential that they have to get into a new home, because their fear and resistance is going to come up in this, and you need to understand what those things are so that you can bring those things back to the forefront of, hey, well, you said you needed to do this because you got to get this move done because your grandkids are in Arizona, and I'm committed to helping you get there. Is that still important to you? Because one principle is that people will buy on emotion and then they justify with logic and reason. People buy an emotion and justify with logic and reason. Logic and reason, like, we're big on the data because our clients here in Silicon Valley are all about it. But you have to remember that information and data creates thinking. Emotion creates action. And we got to be able to get those people to action. So don't overlook that. But we do want to educate, and I'll show you exactly what we're saying to our clients now. When I say very visible, in the last point, number 4, be very visible, post positive news about the market. So questions or thoughts before, questions or thoughts?
Well, I think I'll start with saying, for anyone who wants slide deck, invitation to future trainings, Brett and I are going to be putting on a lot of trainings in the next couple weeks while we're all sheltered in place. For anyone who would like to participate, have invite to those, please feel free to email me or ping me in the chat.
If you could put the that URL in the chat, if you put that URL in the chat, we do host a regular mastermind. We've been doing it on a quarterly basis up until now, but I think it's evident that there's demand for some really good content that is helping you guys be in front of your people and get more deals done. So we're happy to share that. So click on the link for this Thrive Through the Shift to subscribe to our monthly mastermind. There's some questions there that'll ask you, because we want to make this content that we're putting out as relevant as possible to you. So it'll ask you a little bit about your business and where you think you need help and what would kind of future things you'd like to see us talk about. Lastly, what I can say is, the thing that I enjoy doing most now is kind of the coaching and training piece, this kind of stuff that I'm doing, and then also having one-on-one conversations with people. We are growing, and both our brokerage at Real Estate Experts. So if you are wanting to, grow your business, even if you're not, like, this is not a recruiting conversation I'd have with you, I just want to add value. I'm happy to spend some time with some people. I am limited in my time because my time is relatively scarce at this point, but because I personally enjoy this process of mentoring people, I will do a 30-minute strategy session. But the qualifications are you have to be at least at 5 million in sales and production, and that you want to grow. I think there are a couple people who are on the call that I've done some of these before. And is anybody just at liberty to share kind of their experience and if you got some value out of that? All right. Well, cool. What's that?
I'll share.
Oh, cool.
I mean, we sat down, I think, at the beginning of last year, was it? 2019?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really great for me. You were able to help me kind of put together more of, it's more changing my mindset for the type of volume that I wanted to do, and I doubled my business. And I also took my base price up almost on average by 70%. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, that's what we aim to do. So yeah, I mean, our sweet spot with Real Estate Experts, just to give the 90-second shameless plug for what we do. I basically grew my business from 10 to 160 million at sales while I was at Keller Williams. And what I found was it took me about 5 years to do that. I spent $150,000 on coaching in 5 years of time. The systems and the tools, like a lot of failing forward and doing a lot of the wrong shit to figure out what worked. So what I do now is kind of, I've taken what I used to have in my team to create that level of efficiency, and we have like solo agents now who can plug in and have all the same, systems, tools, scripts, access to leads and opportunities like Zillow, for them to grow their own individual agent business. Because putting it all together, like, someone can give you the roadmap, but it's a lot of work to put it all together. So we've taken that out so people can just focus on the production. And what that does is it enables us to predictably collapse the time it takes for them to go from 100,000 in commission to 500,000 or 200,000 to $1 million. And last year I feel fortunate. I helped, NECA is one of our partners. She went from 9 deals when she was at KW to 36 deals her first year with us, and she's on track to do 100 deals this year. She did over $1.2 million in GCI in just her second year with us. And I've got other people like Don Mitchell, who's well on his way to that as well. So my goal is I want to help 5 agents hit $1 million in GCI, and then the next level is $2 million net, which is, they got to make about $1.6 million, I think, to net $1 million take home. But wherever you want to go, however you want to grow, we're here to help. So if you want to take advantage of that, go to that URL, brettscalendar.com, grab a spot, and we'll connect. But apart from that, I want to thank everyone for taking the investment of time to be better in your business, and anything that we can do to help you go and grow, we're here. All right. We'll have a great weekend, and look for more stuff coming out from us, and feel free to reach out. Have a great one, guys.
Thank you, everyone.